This one time on Hinge, I met a boy who seemed cute, funny, and a little quirky. He was tall with brown hair and brown eyes. Tommy and I made a date for 7 o'clock on a Thursday evening. We were going to grab drinks at his favorite bar in Culver City. I vaguely remembered the bar by name when he suggested it and was not a big fan. I tried to suggest an alternate location in Santa Monica, and all he said was, "This is pretty close to the west side." Hint not received. Okay, onward. Thursday arrived, and I was on my way to the bar that I didn't want to go to when Tommy texted me. "Hey, is it all right if we push it back to 7:30? Finishing up some work." Cue hard eye roll. Hi, I'm Kelly Shanley, and this is For Love or Peanut Butter, a true life dating podcast in which a seemingly eligible yet perpetually single woman, that's me, finally delves into the why and the how she has remained single into her mid-30s. And she changes her life forever. Tommy, the pickiest tech bro in town. I'd been on some awful dates before, but this was the snottiest guy I'd ever picked out of a crowd. Pushing back our date 30 minutes before we're supposed to meet up? In LA?
The 405 is gonna be totally jammed, and I'll have to take Lincoln all the way up to Washington Boulevard.
Bad form, dude. It takes at least 30 minutes to get anywhere in this town. But I did have an errand to run, so I said sure, ran my errand, and got to the bar at 7:25. I sat right by the front door and waited for 15 to 20 minutes. I'm not exactly sure how much time passed while I reread the chalkboard menu, but I did decide I would have a $5 old-fashioned if my date ever arrived.
Don't you dare stand me up.
I sat alone, holding back yawns, jerking my head every time someone walked through the door. And then finally, there was Tommy.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
He walked in, looked directly at me, and as I raised my hand to acknowledge him, he continued to search the room. Burn! I sat there and watched it happen, amused, waiting for him to circle back to me. But he didn't. I was tempted to just let him walk past me and sneak out the door, but instead I said his name, and then he looked at me like I was a stranger. Which I guess I technically was, but he had seen my photo and agreed to meet me in person, so no need to look at me like a crazed fan accosting a movie star. You're not that special, dude. You just wasted an hour of my life, and I'm trying to get the show on the road. We hugged awkwardly, and he led me towards the back room. I was wearing high-heeled boots, so naturally he chose a standing table, ignoring all of the vacant booths dotting the horizon of the mostly empty room.
That's so thoughtful.
Easier to make a quick getaway, I suppose, so I didn't protest. Tommy went to grab drinks at the bar, and I started to go with him, but then he set his keys and phone down on our standing table, which strongly implied to me that I should stay behind and guard his things. He returned with my old-fashioned and a shot and a beer for himself. We cheersed, and he downed his shot. And so began the forced conversation that I could barely hear. Tommy was a mumbler. Not only did he mumble in a noisy bar, he also threw in tech jargon and acronyms every other sentence as he explained his very boring job in great detail.
The company that was the 100Xer, the 1000Xer becomes the 2X dog. But if you have no revenue, you can say you're pre-revenue. You're a potential pure play. It's not about how much you earn.
I did my best to follow along and ask questions. Did you say C-3PO? I think I know that one. But after being met with annoyed sighs and unhelpful explanations, I stopped asking for clarification. I did lean in and ask, "What? What did you say?" very loudly a couple times to remind him that I couldn't hear him over the music. But he made no effort to either speak louder or enunciate.
The rain in Spain.
So I stopped listening. My ADHD kicked in.
Showtime!
My feet hurt. Wait, do I know that girl from somewhere? What is that smell? He droned on about work, a trip he took to Denver once, hated it, and other things he hated, basically everything. I would just smile and nod or roll my eyes disapprovingly at whatever subject he was judging at the moment. I figured I would just ride it out and leave after my drink, but then things escalated. As he man-comsplained, that's mansplaining and complaining at the same time, why Sex in the City never should have been a success.
Please, enlighten me.
He started touching his nose the way one does when they think they feel a booger. For the record, there was no booger, at least not externally visible. You'd think that would be a good thing, but believe me, it was not. Because then he started rooting around in his nostril to find the phantom booger.
He wouldn't dare.
Yep, he started picking his nose. Index finger straight in there. Not a glancing blow either, but like left it in there for a few seconds and continued talking. I took a sip of my drink. I looked around, just anything to avert my eyes. I looked back and he had stopped. Phew. Okay. He was ready for another beer. Oh, good. More time together. Just what I wanted. Off to the bar he went. I checked my phone to see if I'd stayed long enough to leave without feeling like an asshole. Only 10 minutes had passed? I chugged my old-fashioned. The sooner it was gone, the sooner I could be gone too.
It's a completely brilliant plan.
Tommy came back with his beer and the quote-unquote conversation resumed. I tuned out again as he man-complained all the reasons he hated exercise.
The thing I love most in the world.
Until I saw his hand creep towards his nose again. My senses were suddenly heightened. Eyes laser-focused. Pulse rate increased. Armpits dampened. The sight of him picking his nose had triggered my fight or flight response. I was this close to turning around and running out of the bar without a word. But social constraints kept my feet firmly planted on the concrete floor where I was still standing in my high-heeled boots. This time, there was no foreplay. He went straight in with his index finger and looked me dead in the eye while he did it.
Sociopath. He's a sociopath.
He kept talking as if it wasn't weird, like he carried on conversations this way all the time. I wondered to myself, does he just do this? Did no one ever tell him that you pick your nose in the privacy of your own bathroom? Or maybe your car in a pinch? Finally, he lowered his hand. Oh, I exhaled. Oh, no. He only lowered his hand to his mouth and was now picking his teeth with the same finger he picked his nose? I don't know if that counts as picking your nose and eating it, but I do know I had to get the fuck out of there. I thought about removing my boots to make a run for it. He kept talking. But I must have seemed eager to leave because he asked me what I was doing for the rest of the night.
Well, that doesn't concern you.
Going home? I gave him nothing more. Oh, well, I just got a text from my boss. He showed me his phone to prove it, as if I would object to him ending this regrettable date. He had to go home and finish some work.
Oh, that's so sad.
That's right. The guy who pushed our date back half an hour at the last minute because he was finishing up some work had to leave to go finish work. Cool. I told him it was no problem, and I tried to show him how genuinely not offended I was. Let's hang out next week, though, he said. I looked at him, puzzled. He offered to walk me to my car. I said, no thanks, I'm fine. He insisted. I don't know why he asked in the first place if I wasn't allowed to decline anyway. At my car, I gave him a cursory hug, and as I pulled away from him, he kissed me. Ugh.
Well, I guess chivalry ain't what it used to be.
I just had to watch this guy pick his nose and possibly eat it, so I was disenchanted to say the least. But even more so, I felt ambushed. Read the fucking room, Tommy. Nothing about this date suggested that I wanted you to kiss me.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I turned to walk to my car, and he pulled on my hand like some lovesick teenager who wanted his girlfriend to abandon her curfew and go make out in his car.
Ugh, so high school.
So let's hang out next week, yeah? He asked, as if there had been any semblance of joy on this date. I'm out of town till Wednesday, I replied, as coldly as I could. Okay, so Thursday or Friday, I'll text you. I just looked at him with a very bewildered and likely unpleasant face, and then turned to go to my car for a second time. And then he kissed me again.
Boo, you whore.
And he would have kept kissing me had I not turned my head to give him my cheek as I unwrapped his arms from around my waist and stepped off the curb directly into oncoming traffic. Just kidding, but almost. I was wearing high heels after all. The good news? There was no traffic. I was home by 8:30, and he never texted me again. I'm Kelly Shanley, and this is For Love or Peanut Butter. For Love or Peanut Butter is created, written, and performed by me, Kelly Shanley. Produced and edited by Z. Rodriguez-Thomas for Mind Jam Media. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast and leave us a glowing review. If you can't wait to hear the next one, check out the column of the same name on Medium. Link in show notes. And be sure to follow me on social media. On Instagram and TikTok, you can find me at Kelly A. Shanley. On YouTube, Facebook, and Medium, at Kelly Shanley. Thanks so much for listening, and stay crunchy out there. Or smooth.
Very Tina Fey. I love it.
The highest compliment.